Hey everyone, welcome to the GardenStateHSWrestling.com podcast, Near Fall Back Points. We'll figure out a name eventually. It really wasn't that crazy, but it's here. Wrestling season is here. As of right now, this Tuesday, we will actually start real wrestling. We've had scrimmages. We've had results. We've had schedule changes. But we are ready to go. Looks like it's going to be a great season. We have pretty much everybody. Like I said, Dover shut down, so there'll be no Dover team. But everything else, it looks like it's a go. And I'm really excited that we're getting something. I didn't think I'd be this excited about, the limited schedule, but we're going to work with what we got. So I'm going to do a couple things tonight. We got a great interview with the reigning state champ from High Point, Brian Soldano. We're going to talk to him a little bit about his season, kind of what he's done. The switch, we got a really fun interview with him. He's great to talk to and easy to talk to. Also, we're going to do a little bit of the preview. I know in the bottom, people have been busting my chops because it says I talk about my top 10 and upcoming schedule. Well, now we can really get back to it. Don't have a wrestler of the week yet, obviously, but we're going to do a preseason top 10 and just a couple matches I want to highlight this week, and we'll talk about. But first, I got to talk about the sponsor. Before we get anything, we got to pay the bills. Champion Athletes, Dan Warnikoff. When I tell you this man produces winners, I mean, you just look at his list. We've talked about him before, Pat Glory. I know he's done stuff with a couple other of the Del Barton guys. I know he's done stuff with other sports in other states. I mean, if you want to lose weight healthy and not feel like you're tired and beat down and such, Dan Warnikoff is the way to go. He will help you with meal plans and help you get to that nutritional weight you want to stay at and feel refreshed and not tired like you're just beat. Trust me, you want to deal with Dan Warnikoff. Update on the wrestling videos. We are currently in the middle of producing them. I should have them all up and live on the site or YouTube probably by Sunday. I'm running through them, trying to get it done. My computer's giving me a little bit of problems, but we're working on it. We're getting them done. I'm pounding through them. For everybody who wants to know, there's no live interviews, anything like that. It's not, it's basically some stuff we did. I talked to the coaches. We collaborated some stuff. So I'm trying to make it as interesting as possible, but unfortunately, we couldn't film for obvious reasons. So I'm trying to make them as informative as possible, and they'll be up, and we'll get them set up. Now let's focus a little bit on some matches and top 10. And I got a question that was actually emailed to me. I know we've done some questions in the past, and it's interesting talking about the videos. One of the questions came from Amanda in Kenville, and she wanted to know, when I made my predictions for the upcoming year, what was the easiest division to pick and what was the hardest? The easiest, in a sense, to me, was there were two that kind of jumped out. One was North Warren, because I feel North Warren just is a good squad. They have a really good team, and some of the other teams in that division don't have a full lineup. So it's easier, I feel, for them to win. And this is no disrespect to anybody else in that division, but Del Barton. Del Barton, to me, is one step ahead, whereas there's very good teams in the American division, but unfortunately, I think Del Barton's just a little bit better. So that was my easiest. Honestly, my hardest had to be the Liberty division. The reason being is Hanover Park's a good squad, so is Pequannock. Booton moves in there. They got some young quality wrestlers. Whippany Park's there, and Kinnelon. And each team has their strengths and weaknesses. Each team has hammers at certain positions. And that's one of those divisions that any matchup could come down to a coin flip. And last year, for example, the title was held by three different teams because they had split 1-on-1 against each other head to head. So it's a three-way tie. That's that's kind of my hardest. But thank you for the question, Amanda. Please keep them coming. If you guys want any questions, please send them on Twitter to Morris County HSW or to our email on the site. But let's get to the top 10. I'm going to go with the top 10, and then we'll give you 2 matches that you want to check out for, and then we'll head to our interview. Preseason top 10. Drum roll, please. Sorry, no, we don't have the budget for special effects. Number 10, Wes Morris. Now, this is more of a hunch, and there was a lot of teams I had in consideration, but Coach Rossi always does a really good job with this squad and finds a way to pick up some extra wins. And I mean, it's going to be brutal in that America division, but I think they can easily kind of make some noise and be respectable in this division, in this conference. Number 9, I'm going to go with Kittatinny. Once again, rough division. They're going to battle it out. I think they're really close with a couple other ones in their division. As a matter of fact, their entire division is ranked at this point because it's such a tough division. So it'll be a real back and forth matchup with a lot of them. Number 8, Morris Knowles. I like Morris Knowles. I think they got a quality squad. You know, they got some experience. Lost a couple really good wrestlers to graduation, but they're bringing in some youth. I look for them to, improve on that heading into this year. Number 7, Jefferson. Again, like I said with Kittatinny, Jefferson's got a deep squad. Jefferson potentially hurt by the sectional tournament being canceled because I thought it would showcase them and the run they go on as well as the MCT. It's tough, but I think they're going to persevere and they'll have a good season. They got some really good quality wrestlers coming back. Same goes for number 6, Newton, fellow division mate with them in the Freedom Division. They'll battle back. Coach Bollett does a great job up there in Newton. We'll see them hanging with some people. It'll be a good team. Number 5, this is not really a surprise, but Mendham. I think they got some depth. They bring in some young guys. Like I said, they lost to graduation, and they were on a really good run a couple of years ago. But I really like Mendham. They're in that mix for me a little bit. The problem is they have such a tough schedule that their record may not reflect it, but they could float anywhere. I mean, with the way these rankings are fluid, you never know what might happen. We could find out in a week that somebody's, canceled for 2 weeks and there's nothing we can do about it. But right now I got Mendham at 5. Next, Pope John. I really like Pope John. I think they won the non-public B North last year. Didn't win the overall title, but won the North title. They got some young guys. They lost a little bit to graduation, but they still got quality in there, and I think they should be competitive in a really good amount of their matches. A team to keep an eye on, and I've said this for a few years, is number 3, Mount Olive. Yeah, they lost a couple guys, graduation, but that wave of youth that's come in for the last couple of years, they keep getting waves and waves. I mean, this team is solid and can give any squad a run for their money. And, I'm going to talk about one of their upcoming matches that I'm really going to be interested in come Monday that got rescheduled this day. I'm going to keep my eye on, and we'll talk about that in a second. But number 2, we're going to talk to him in a few minutes. His team, High Point. I mean, this is a team, we're going to talk about it, loaded for bear. You got Soldano, you got all these other guys who can step in and contribute. And this is, like I said, a team that could have possibly advanced down to groups if there was, but should have enough quality wrestlers advance to the regions as long as they can get over some news. We're going to talk about it there, but I think they're going to be fine. High Point. And number 1. Was it a shock? This is like the easiest decision of decisions. Del Barton. We're talking about a team that was number 1 in the state last year, won the non-public A championship, ended Bergen Catholic's 9-year reign of undefeated in the NJSIA, and wasn't even close when they beat Bergen Catholic. And they're bringing it back a ton. I mean, they lost three medal winners from last year. And my numbers might be wrong, but I had 3 I can think of right off a hand. But they got such a young squad. They had such a really good freshman class last year that's now moving up. Andy Truzinski, who we've talked about in the past, who made the finals. PJ Casal, who won at 220 last year. That's going to be the team to beat. And I really don't see anybody coming close. And that's just being honest. Now, Argue with me if you want. You can. You're going to be wrong. There's no arguing those top four. The other ones are debatable, but those top four, I think, barring a change, maybe, I think you're going to be locked into those for the most part. Now, as I said, we're kicking off the season Tuesday. 3/16, Stone Cold Steve Austin Day. Stunner there for everybody who doesn't know. Watch some YouTube if you don't know what I'm talking about. I can't teach you everything. There are two matches that kind of stick out. One immensely, because I think it'll be huge. First, they're both in the American division of the NJAC. Montville will be traveling to Mendham. And I think, like I said, I think Mendham will do well. Montville, I want to see how they do, because I know they had a couple wrestlers who you'll see in the preview videos aren't wrestling, which was kind of a shock to some people. I want to see how they rebound and stuff. And Mendham's a scrappy team, so we'll see how that works. But the one I think everybody should be tuning in for is Del Barton at Mount Olive. I mean, that is like one of the top matches right out of the gate. So, everybody wants to see that. I want to see that because I think Mount Olive will be competitive. Do I think Mount Olive will beat them? Probably not, because Del Barton has such depth at every position. But I think Mount Olive will be very competitive. So if you're going in there thinking you're going to see a 60-10 or something like that, that's crazy unless something drastic happens. I think it'll be a lot closer than other people think. So I mean, those are the ones we're going to be watching, and we'll obviously have all the videos up and embedded and everything, and we'll have the list as far as where they're going to be broadcast. We're going to get those as well up here as we go along. We're just finalizing with certain teams who's doing what, where, and how and such. Is trying to get everything together with everything. But I don't want to hold anybody up any longer. Let's head to that interview with Brian Soldano. Joining me tonight is a man who really needs no introduction, but I'll give him one anyway. For fans of New Jersey wrestling, had a great year last year and one of the most talked about state finals. High Point's Brian Soldano. Brian, thank you for taking the time to join me for a few minutes.
Thank you for having me. It sounds like it's going to be fun.
Talk a little bit about your journey and how you got started. I know your brother wrestled at High Point. Just kind of how you got to where you are now, your journey to this point.
Yeah, I started young. I started with him at I want to say I'm like 3 or 4 at the time. Then throughout the years, he's always been like a little bit of a role model for me. And then when I was little, I always loved to look up to the high school guys, and I always pictured myself being on the high school team. So that's what kind of started my love for the sport and my love for the community of High Point. So once I got on the team, I had such great leaders in Billy Talmadge, Brandon LaRue, Devin Liebel, those guys. So it's been tough, but it's been easy having good leaders. And since freshman year, I had a pretty good year. I ended up not placing the states, which really was a big bummer for me. But I really wish I did. But then the next year, losing Brandon LaRue, who was a good roommate for me, and then losing him kind of stunk. He was a really good guy for me. And then once I got to be in the room again and got my mind straight again with Billy Talmadge and Devin Liebel and PJ Soldano, I kind of felt like everything started clicking up again, and I felt there was no one going to beat me that year. I felt amazing all year. I had best partners ever, and I think from what happened last year, it speaks for itself how it felt. And then going into the off season this year, not knowing if we were going to have any wrestling, it was a confusing time. I was really bummed out hearing about no freestyle. I really just started getting into freestyle, but I was really bummed not hearing about Fargo and all that. So once we started getting opened up again, it was really a happy time. But I mean, I was 160 at states my sophomore year, and then I want to say I got up to about 202 in the off season after we hit quarantine. So I put on, I think, COVID 40.
That's like my beard. I put on COVID 40 beard.
Exactly. And then once I got up there, I started working out again with Brandon LaRue, and I got slimmed down a little bit to 182. And from here on out, I've been pretty slim, and I watch what I eat and make sure that I'm staying active. And then I get to see that we're gonna have big tournaments again, like Super 32 and all these big stuff that are opening up again. So I start going into these little tournaments like Buxton duels and like what is it called? Bison duels too.
Mm-hmm.
I was a little rusty. I lost a few matches I probably shouldn't have. But once I got into those matches, it kind of kicked off a little bit of rust that was on me. And from the point of me starting to train and get better and knock off that rust, I felt there's no one been able to touch me for a while since that. And once I started getting my mind straight and doing proper meditation and stuff like that for Super 32, that was probably the biggest thing I've done in a long time, getting that win. And that kind of catapulted me into the top 5 for the country. And I feel I wish there was some guys that were not there. I wish they were there, but like it kind of opened up everything for me. And then now I'm just waiting to see if we even have a full season this year.
Well, the one thing I know, especially with the Super 32, was there's always guys who win a state title and they are successful, but it's always more of like a big fish in a small pond jersey type thing. And that Super 32 kind of puts your name on the map with everybody. And it was like you took that next step. And it's funny because we've had him on here. We had him on previously. And you kind of remind me of how you're going from your sophomore to junior season of Pat Gore, where he kind of made the finals. He lost, but he made the finals. And it just seemed that year in between going into his junior year, he just kicked on. And it was like all of a sudden, it was a whole nother level. And that seems to be what it is, because that's all we hear. You're out here winning and you're out here doing this. And it was funny because personal side though, with Super 32 being in Myrtle Beach, I happened to be in Wilmington, North Carolina that weekend because I do pro wrestling and I was down doing a show in Wilmington. So I was coming in, I happened to be flying out. I think it was that Monday morning, and I'm flying back, and you notice when there's a lot of wrestlers around, because my wife likes to call it, when we go to Atlantic City, she calls it the Cauliflower Ear Club. And I looked and I said, okay. So as I'm walking around, I go, okay, something's going on. And somebody goes, oh, it's Super 32. So I wound up seeing like some Iron Horse guys and everything. And I texted your mom and I go, oh, I read you one. And I said, oh, is he flying out? She's like, no, his dad drove him home. They left yesterday. And it was like, she was telling me that. So it was just funny that it was kind of in that scenario. But you were talking about High Point, some of your leaders. Now, your coach is a former great at High Point. You have Coach Smith, who did great at there. Talk about that generation, because sometimes you get a team where they do well for a couple of years and then they drop off. There seems to almost be a renewal at High Point every year where it's just new and new.
All right. So with Coach Garner being obviously a High Point legend, I look around Sussex County and, all these guys that were, greats and have won state titles, they all give back to the community. And personally, I feel that's why High Point's almost like we're not rebuilding, we're reloading sometimes. So I look at it like Coach Garner, he looks back and he helps out everybody. He's been coach for a while. He's doing an amazing job. But then you have Billy Smith comes back. He's even, getting to wrestle with the guys. He's, getting shape and beating up the bigger guys. He's helping out amazingly. And then you also have our clubs around Sussex County with Nick Francavilla. He's working out with everybody. And he's making everybody better. And then you also have guys who didn't win it, but are all around amazing wrestlers like Joey Gascione. He's still around. And it's good to see that not even just the people who won states for High Point was able to give back to the community. And I feel that's why we can still say that we're one of the toughest teams in the state.
Now, you had said before about, the postseason kind of thrown in a flux. I know the biggest thing you missed was, participating in my All-Star match. I know that was the most important. Folk style and everything. We know it was the All-Star match. You got to fluff up the website. I understand.
Of course.
So, and talk a little bit, because you're kind of in it now with, you guys have a really good girls team as well. Talk about that, because it was an anomaly in my day. It was usually a few girls, but now you guys have such a big team. I don't know if you still do, but I know the last couple of seasons, Coach Gardner told me the boys had to wrestle Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and the girls were Tuesday, Thursday, just because it was such a big team. And the room, talk about knowing that there's, the burdening of the women's, and you guys got such a good squad, just how it intermingles with you guys.
Yeah, I mean, it started up my sophomore year, and it was insane to see a new sport, one. Two, I think don't quote me, but I think there was 36 of them who signed up.
You had a lot, because I mean, you had you're a good squad of girls.
Oh yeah, we were in the 30s, and then I mean, they right off the bat, they were all hard workers. I was proud to see that they didn't just come in thinking, they're the top dogs from High Point and all. But it was good to see they were hard workers and all. But it came, sometimes it was a little bit of an interruption, but of course that's going to happen when we only had one wrestling room at the time and there was no other mats, and they didn't have any coaches yet. They only had one who just signed up. But once they signed on, they kind of understood that they're here to get better and they're here to work hard. So it was a good thing to see how they grew like that. And then this year I'm not 100% sure on their schedule, but I don't know if they still have matches this year because we just got shut down. But they're still training with us. They run every day with us. I think because COVID, they can't really get in the room with us. We're all separated. But right now, I know their coach learned a little bit more from last year and also, and they got their own mats to wrestle on. So it's good to see how they're progressing and growing. Like they're going to be pretty tough next couple of years if they keep this up. So it's good to see it.
Now you're saying with COVID and obviously the shutdown, how does that affect you? Because I mean, obviously you're a top-notch wrestler. It's routine. So obviously the routine's been different because you should have been done with wrestling already this year. I mean, if the routine goes through, how do you do it where it's kind of like, okay, we're ready to wrestle. Now we're going to shut down. Okay, we're ready to go. Now we have to stop. And I know, it's kind of changed your team's outlook because you guys obviously were going to be, a favorite in team sectionals and possibly go down in groups and do some damage and the HWS. With that all taken away, how do you motivate somebody who on your team who might be good, not good enough to win? Like, I'm not trying to say like they're a good wrestler, but they're not a favorite to go down and possibly qualify for region. How do you keep those guys motivated to go out there and give their best?
It all comes back to the community giving back. What I said before with Nick Francavilla and Iron Horse. We usually get, most of our guys get into that room, and we get shut down from time to time. And then when we're shut down, we kind of try to push people to get into the room. And if they can't, obviously, we understand. And if they're worried about COVID stuff, we understand that. But guys that are right there where they have the chance of making, 2 states or even placing in regions, they're the ones that are wanting to be at practice, not wanting to sit home and eat Cheetos on the couch, So
that's what I used to do.
I do the same thing.
Still do.
I mean, it's good to see that guys like that are still training. We're getting shut down every now and then, and most of our guys are still getting out and active. So that's how we kind of get with the on and off.
And finally, I mean, I know you should be one of the favorites this year, obviously, with getting in. And I would bet money on this. I know I bought some tickets from your mom for the 50-50. I think I got a better shot of betting on you getting qualified for the super regions than I do a win in the draw. But you're mostly going to get down. What would you need as far as training wise? Would it just be a match or two to be ready for something like that? Because how everything's condensed, how would you get ready if for some reason your season is stop and go and maybe you get 1 or 2 matches? Is that enough for you to get ready to defend the title? What would you need?
Well, I know from last year's states, I haven't stopped wrestling from a day after states. I didn't stop practicing. So I know that it's not going to be a problem with my wrestling. Most likely, if there's any problem ever, it will be either cardio or I get tossed and got caught on my back or something. But I think it's going to come back down to mindset. You know, if I can get a match or two in this year, that's awesome. I really want that. But if I can't, I understand the circumstances, and I think I don't know if you need one or two matches to qualify. I'm not sure on that.
I don't think they've done it. The way I've heard is you need a few, but then apparently the other thing I've heard is if there's somebody who, for example, like you said, if you get shut down for a little bit, I think it's going to be a wild card situation from what I've heard. I don't quote me on that. I mean, but that's the difference. We don't really know. We don't even know where states are happening yet. We just know what day they are. So, as I said, everything's changing. It's literally every day you wake up, it's like, oh, this match changed. Oh, we're doing it here. Oh, we're doing. So it's not only confusing for you, it's confusing for somebody who's been around it for years, like myself. So this is an anomaly of a year. So I don't think they've made any rules yet.
Yeah, no, I think I gotta get like 2 or 3 matches in, maybe. But if I can get those matches in, I think it's almost best to sit and relax, you know, and not get exposed to people. Because, you know, I honestly, if I was a bad person, I think it would be a really good strategy to go to someone's like high school practice, like a club, and say, hey guys, I think I'm not feeling well. So I think once April comes around, we're going to start simmering down everybody that goes out and wrestles at clubs and all. So I think for me to get prepared for a match or for the end tournament, I need to keep doing what I'm doing here at my house and with my friends. But 2, I need to at least get a little mat time with the, you know, wrestling season.
Now, would that have, and I don't know, if there was no end tournament this year, for some reason, if NJSA, before they made the announcement, there was no end tournament, would that have affected you wrestling this year, or would you have gone out for the match? Because you did win the title last year. Is that, or would you just kind of said, listen, I'm going to focus on next year at college, just kind of do my own thing? Would that have played in, or you wanted to wrestle with High Point again?
I would be extremely heartbroken if they didn't have an end year season or end of the tournament season. But I would understand, obviously. But this year, I officially have lost my most match wins. I can't beat Nick Francavilla because I won't be able to get enough matches. And if I wasn't able to have the states this year, I would never be able to tie him for most amount of state titles either. So I think I would be a little heartbroken.
That's what I think the biggest thing is, especially like a lot of people don't know, is you're going to, you know, it happens this year, but then you're looking 10, 20 years in the future. And a lot of these kids, you know, who aren't even born yet or are wrestling, they're going to look up on the board and you're going to go, oh, Nick Francavilla was good. Oh, Soldano was good, but he wasn't. And then it's like, no, he only wrestled 15 matches. And see, you know, if that is really, that's you're not the only one. I know I spoke with Coach Branham from Hanover Park, and Joey Oliveri would have shattered the school record if he had his typical year, and he's not going to get that typical year. So it almost hurts you in the long because people are going to look at it and not know the details of what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to tell Gardner, put a little asterisk next to my name, you know, and add in, didn't have full amount of matches.
Prorate it.
Yeah.
If you go undefeated, prorate it and say, should have been this, you know, or should have been that.
Yeah,
know?
Exactly.
Well, you get your free year next year. Come back, you know, do another year, you know.
Oh, I was thinking about that. I was going to go to SCC and take back another year of high school.
There you go. So you do like everybody else. You go there for another year. You sit there, you blow them away by numerous numbers.
Yeah, I'll be almost 20 for my senior year. That's how you do it.
Well, there's not to there's a certain state champion that was just crowned in Pennsylvania that was a little bit older. So it's not uncommon. I mean, then you can transfer down to Kentucky or something. I'm sure like their grade is like 24, whatever. Well, I mean,
yeah, but nothing's like New Jersey State's though. That's the problem.
Unbelievable. I try telling people that they don't understand when they realize the love of the sport for New Jersey. I said, it's almost like football in Texas. I'm like, that's how much people love wrestling in New Jersey. And my nephew is an 8th grader in wrestling. He's 6 foot. He's 6'1", 240 pounds at 14. And
He's a football player.
Oh, he's a football player, but he houses people with his leg straight. And my sister's a 5'6" Italian woman who goes crazy on the sideline. But they're like, they get into it, and she's from here. She watched me wrestle, and so she gets into it. And the other parents are kind of looking at her like she's this insane woman. And she's like, I'm from Jersey, and they still don't understand what I mean. I'm like, yeah, watch some high school wrestling in New Jersey, whole different thing.
Oh yeah, my mom's the one lady that looks like the insane woman too, so it's all right. I understand.
There's a lot of insane mothers in wrestling. I've told the story before. The funniest thing that ever happened was my wife wasn't around wrestling, and this is when we first started dating, and it was actually the Iron Horse event they had it at Hanover Park, and it was probably about 7 years ago, and they asked me to help out with announcing. I was like, sure. I was covered it. I was announcing for the one gym, and it was. Why am I drawing a blank here? It was Cephalo, and it was Pickaninny from New York. And they were wrestling, and I think Pickaninny was up by like 5 with like a couple seconds left. Cephalo couldn't win. He's going to lose. And he went in hard for a shot, and he got a little rough with the kid on the edge. Whatever. It wasn't a big deal. Mm-hmm. Well, the kid's father was one of the coaches. He pushed Cephalo down. Now, right next to me is Cephalo's father. He darts across the mat and tackles him into the stand, and they start brawling. My wife's sitting right there watching this whole thing, and she has no idea what's going on. So I'm sitting there, and I'm talking to one of the parents, and he's like, oh, somebody get Mr. Cephalo. I said, no. Go get Mrs. Cephalo. And he's like, what do you mean? I go, she's a little Italian. Sure enough, Miss Cephalo was in the guy's face. And I'm like, she doesn't take it. I said, they don't take it. These wrestling moms, they will fist fight for kids. I said, you better take care of it. And she was over there in his face. And this guy had at least 6 inches and probably about 200 pounds on him. She didn't care. She was in his face. And I said, that's what wrestling moms are. I said, my mother was the same way, screaming at people. So trust me, your mom's not an exception.
Yeah.
Very much the wrestling norm. But listen, I want to thank you for taking the time. Full transparency. I'm trying to get you since the first podcast. You've been busy. I understand, so I'm glad you made some time. Please tell your teammates and your parents I said hello, and good luck this year. And I really hope we get to some sort of normalcy for the end tournament and see where we're at, so I can get to cover you. It's a joy to watch you wrestle. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Anytime. Thank you so much, Brian. It's always great talking to you, and it's always enjoyable talking to not only a wrestler who loves wrestling, but has a family that's really into it. And it's just always fun to talk to anyone who's that involved, and not only family but personally. So, like I said, before we go, just a couple little notes. Like I said, I want to reiterate the wrestling videos will be up by Monday morning. I should also have the videos of where stuff is going to be broadcast from as well. We'll have that on the page. We might actually wind up seeing how we're going to do. Maybe I'll pin a note on the front of each page, just kind of putting stuff where we're going to figure all the technical stuff out. I'm not a technical wizard. I don't know. I'm going to have to rely on Jared, the podcasting legend, for that. If he can get some time off, from doing all his other stuff. I mean, the guy is like the Donald Trump of podcasters. He's everywhere. He's doing everything. He's the president of podcasting. But I'll try to make some time with him. I got to talk to his press secretary. But one thing I want to talk about a little bit before we go, I'm going to jump into the politics realm again, which I'm sure everybody loves my point of view. But, they say those in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. Wow. I didn't realize the Cuomo house was practically glass, because this son of a bitch is all out there talking about how horrible Donald Trump was. And I'm going to be honest with you. You can bitch about politicians and everything. I don't care that much in general. My point of view is I'm not going to chastise you for doing something when I'm doing the same thing. And Governor Andrew Gropey is out here touching asses and whatever he wants on anybody. I mean, this guy is crazy. And then he's out there. He's got his Fredo brother out there talking for him as a talking point. Just resign already. You've done a horrible job. You basically came in there trying to be this guy who, I'm going to do this and I'm going to pass this. You basically yelled and refused to grant people permits for the bridge unless they named it after your father. You got your Fredo-ass brother on there covering for you on TV. You're out here grabbing ass with your pierced nipple, son of a bitch looking face. You put old people in nursing homes and inflated the number and did the numbers different so you wouldn't look like a complete asshat. Sorry, you are. Can you, Governor Murphy, don't forget, I didn't forget about you, Cooper, down in North Carolina, right there. Can you all just go away? Because it's easier when everybody wants to play him and you rally up people and go, oh, Donald Trump this, Donald Trump that. Well, what did Donald Trump have to do with you being an asshole? What did Donald Trump have to do with you grabbing breasts? It's kind of hypocritical, don't you think? But I think I don't want to say too much more because I might get kicked off of YouTube or my colorful language. Jared's giving me the evil eye, tipped his glasses down at me. But listen, we're going to have some fun this season. It's here. I mean, I don't know what to tell anybody else. It's here. The season starts on this Tuesday. And I'm going to try to post schedules as well as I can. We're going to try to see what we can do. Stuff going to change and be fluid, but New Jersey, it's time. Let's start some wrestling. For Jared, the podcasting legend, I'm Donald J. Brower. We'll see you next time.